Perfect. Hello, people. I see someone's in the chat at least. Oh, I should probably get off the screen. Hello, people. We're back for the next 10 battles. Yeah, I didn't do the first ones earlier. I mean, I stopped over because I was honestly doing more than doing 20 at once really tiring. But here we are. So we're doing 10 more. Gotta give a few minutes again. We'll start at let's say 9:17, 9:18. We'll see if anyone joins. Yeah, so just give it a couple minutes. Even if no one's here, I'll still start so that people can watch the VOD and stuff. I appreciate what Weshon said in chat. It reminds me of a Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! When people say like play like 2005 rules, no XYZ, blah blah. It's very funny. Yeah, I'm realizing now it says one viewer because I'm viewing it, so that's great. It's okay though. Oh wait, I did a ping, right? Yeah, I did. Okay, maybe someone will join. I don't know. Whatever. I guess we'll just get started. So for our first matchup of the stream, we have Tilted Panda versus God's Drunkest Driver. So looking at this, Dragonite on driver's side goes freaking ham. Yes, Dot has Ice Shard. If you get it well enough, you can E-Speed before the Ice Shard anyway. And nothing else really takes a hit very well. So that's a very strong here. Gengar's pretty good if you can just HP ground the Heatran. So those are all pretty strong. And then Heatran itself is pretty powerful in this matchup. There's not a great fire switch in, and Blissey can get bullied with Magma Storm Taunt. Also, the fire resistance are pretty bad on driver's side. So we see both Toxicroak and Gallade have a potential to come in this matchup, do a lot of work. Frogger also looks very strong. None of the top 6 really want to take a water move from it. And then Dragonite obviously dies to like Ice Punch, which is really nice. So it's a very offensive matchup. I think honestly, I think I would give the edge slightly to Tilted Panda, but this Dugtrio on driver's side can be very helpful for both Heatran and Raikou, which is obviously a huge deal. So yeah, it's pretty and it's like a pretty basic matchup. I think Tilted Panda's offense is very strong here, but God's Drunkest Driver definitely has some counterplay. In terms of things I think might lead, I could actually see like a Gallade lead being really solid here. It's like depending on what leads clicking Swords in turn 1, if Gengar leads and you're sashing like Shadow Sneak, do half and then Shadow Sneak the following turn to force it out. Or even just kill like Xan or Psycho K if you're Sash actually. I can also see Donphan lead because there's not much that driver can do to really punish it. so it can just get up free rocks, even though that also enables the Bronzong to get up free rocks. But I don't think Moltres comes here anyway, so his team doesn't hate rocks that much. But anyway, let's get into the battle. So we see Heatran and Dragonite Weave both leading their top threats. And Dragonite is going to crit through Heatran. Dragonite's going to crit through Heatran with the Earthquake through the Shucka Berry. That's really unfortunate because Heatran was definitely going to cook HP Ice there and do a ton of damage to it. So, Dominus is going to get up Stone Edge. In comes Bronzong. Bronzong's going to Toxic the Moltres. I'm kind of surprised the Moltres came here. I didn't think I had a very good matchup, but here it is. And in comes Blissey. Dodges Fire Blast, doesn't really matter. It just means you can't scout its spread, I guess. And in comes Feraligatr. Feraligatr obviously gets a completely free SD there. It is Lum, so the Toxic from Lantern is not going to slow it down. We do see a switch out to Raikou. On her Toxic, double Toxic, very good play there. So Raikou's now on a timer, but Raikou's also packing Toxic for the Lantern. It reveals to be Agility Lantern, so Toxic this thing's really big. And then it clicks Waterfall, which I don't really understand. I feel like Surf is just better overall in this matchup, but what am I to say? And you just could preserve the Raikou. I think that makes sense. So you just go into Espeon, take very little because Lantern's special attack is, physical attack is really bad. Is get Toxic here. I do like that play. Espeon does not have Magic Bounce here, and since it's for real Wish, it means it's a bulky set, so getting the chip off is nice. Protect is good. Sure, Lantern goes down to the Waterfall, which is big. And Espeon's good, and Dragon's good. Dragon's good. DD on the Espeon. And Espeon is going to stay in. Dragon's good. DD again. Espeon's good. Baton pass out into Donphan. Okay, so it's getting back to full off the Wish. And the Dragon's get Outrage. It's not going to kill, but Stone Edge is going to miss. Oh my god, this is why you run Ice Shard, people. This is why you run Ice Shard for Dragonite and not Stone Edge. It does a little less damage, but it's better. In comes Espeon. I guess fishing for a confusion. In comes Moltres, obviously very well from the rocks. And Dragonite's just going to go through and cook E-Speed. Remember that confusion is 50% of this gen, so it's getting Perucky. Sacks the Raikou. Brings in Feraligatr, and it is going to snap out and knock out the Feraligatr. So, unfortunate misses, but honestly, I don't think they matter. I mean, I guess the crit mattered a lot on the Heatran, but I don't think the miss on Donphan mattered much. Stone Edge wouldn't have put you in range of anything anyway. Unless the Donphan was packing both Stone Edge and Ice Shard, but then why don't you just click Ice Shard and get guaranteed damage? So, I mean, this is a very strong D-Knight matchup. We saw that. It was pretty obvious that D-Knight went crazy here. So I'm not surprised. I mean, D-Knight, when you use your Steel Turn 1, is really bad. I'm looking at it. So I'm getting a comment in chat from someone who was in a previous game. Said, if you remember game 10 for a previous stream, he said the Mariko Scream Muck, so that Bronzong was insanely fast. Very, very interesting. Okay, so let's move on to our next game. We're just gonna go a little faster than we did before since there's no co-host this time. At least not right now. So let's go on to game 12. My computer is slightly less shit right now because I rebooted it, so you're all welcome for that, I guess. A little more pleasurable viewing experience. So here we have Lance versus Sazter. I think that's how I'm just going to say a bunch of Rs because there's 5 Rs. So I'm looking here. Sazter as a really fat team. Hippo, Skarm, Breloom with Poisonio, Blissey, Dusclops, Donphan. I mean, I don't know if I'd call it. It's probably close enough to Stalin draft. I could call it that. I don't know if I'd love calling that. I'm assuming all the water type spinners got sniped. That's why he took Donphan. Fair enough. It definitely looks pretty strong here. Raikou is going to have trouble breaking through the combination of a Hippowdon, Breloom, Blissey, and Donphan. Yes, HPI is like Aura Spear, but it is not amazing. Hariyama, which is our main offensive threat here, is really limited by Skarmory. Even Guts, like close combat, you can just go out to Dusclops and it bounces off. I could maybe see like some sort of Mesprit like trick into Nasty Plot doing something, but I don't know. This matchup looks really tough for Lance to break through, just like looking at the bulk. Slowking may have a chance if it's like a Nasty Plot set, but I don't know. I think this matchup looks very heavily in Sazer's favor. You know, it's hilarious seeing a team with nothing above 70 base speed which, I mean, pretty much shows his hard stall, but, I mean, if it works, it works, I guess. I mean, I don't think it's a good draft. I think it's a really bad draft, but Lance's draft isn't great either, so I think Sazdur has the advantage anyway. So let's get into the game. Lance on the left, Sazdur on the right. Taunt Nidoqueen, preventing the Skarmory from getting those spikes. Very good play. Is Toxic Spike. Okay, fair enough. Sazdur does not have a grounded poison. It's just Super Fang down the Hippo. Yeah, it rocks him up. Getting off a taunt, but yeah, I don't know what else it was going to do. It's pretty obvious to get Earthquake there, so I don't really get that taunt play. Nidoqueen's going to Super Fang again. So it keeps it low because it can't slack off here. But Nidoqueen goes down. In comes Mesprit. Oh, it's going to start Calm Minding. Okay. That's pretty good. Oh, this thing is Mono Earthquake then, because obviously we'll quick to anything else if you had it. So Mesprit is just going to say it's going to Psychic. Oh, or maybe just he forgot. Life Orb versus Sand is a bold play, but I guess that you do what you gotta do. And I mean, that's +1 Life Orb, basically a bounce off Blissey because it's a Blissey. Seismic Toss, and then obviously dies to the next Life Orb hit, or Life Orb plus Sand hit. He's gonna preserve it though, which I don't really get, but I guess you can. It's better than sacking it. You gain Hariyama here. I get why it's not Flame Orb, so it probably has to be banned in this matchup. Or it's Belly Drum, okay. Is this thing faster than the Skarmory? It is faster than Skarmory. Close combat will knock it out. Do we have anything I can revenge it? It is like okay, so it's a fast Magazine or possibly even a Scarf because that was obviously a very fast Hariyama. In comes Bronzong. I mean, I assume he knows the Scarf, so he's got Earthquake here, but that's not going to do that much to Dusclops. So he's going to go out, Lance going to go out to Muck. On the will list, this pretty much neuters Muck. Oh, he has a Lumberry. Never mind. But he can just will it again, and then this thing is, which his last ways to break through Blissey is good. Oh my god, substitute Muck. What am I looking at? Substitute Lumberry Muck is very cool. Shadow Punch does very one, so that's obviously going to go down. And the Nightshade does not break the sub. Wow. That's really crazy. In comes the Breloom. Muck is going to click Focus Punch. Okay. It's going to do a lot of damage, but I don't think it'll knock out. Yeah, it's not going to knock out. Breloom is going to put it to sleep. That's probably why it was Lumberry originally. In comes Bronzong as the Breloom quit sub now. Zen breaks the sub, but Focus Punch, that crit definitely mattered. There was no way Bronzong died to that otherwise, so that's a big crit. In comes Raikou. Breloom's going to take his focus, but Raikou's just going to Aura Spear, knocking it out. In comes Magnezone. Raikou's just going to Calm Mind here, makes sense. But Magzone's going to Boom, knocking it out. So it's just 2 remaining Mons versus the Blissey. In comes Mesprit. So Mesprit is going to Psychic here, die to its own Life Orb. As Blissey should have just soft-boiled, honestly. But anyway, in comes Muck. So it dies Psychic Toss, but it's going to wake up first turn and Boom. However, Lance did not realize the rule that if you Boom on the last turn, you do lose the game because we are going off of the way Game Freak programs Scarlet and Violet in games since Gen 6. So, unfortunately, that does mean Lance loses the game. I believe that does knock him out of the tournament. Was very well played, but I don't think you really out there. Boom was like Boom kind of, but the Blissey has proved too much, and I did like the Belly Drum Hariyama. I think that's a good breaker, even if it's chipped down really fast by Sand. But yeah, I mean, it was a really rough matchup for Lance here. It was going to be really hard to break through the bulk, so I can see how that happened the way it did. But yeah, good win by Sazdur. Okay, on to our next game. Let's move on to matchup 13. Yeah, we're going for these a lot faster, but fair enough. I mean, there's no one watching anyway, So match 13, we have Lux again, who won his first game. I believe he was the opening game of the tournament, and he is up against Jimmy G. Jimmy's an accomplished draft tournament player, has very good performances deep yell in our team tournaments. And Alexa, we showed in the first game, he's very creative and can play very well, so it should be a good game. Looking at the start of the matchup, Jimmy G's Raikou is really strong here. Donphan is not that difficult to remove with the combination of Weavile and Vaporeon. And Raikou obviously does have a pretty good chance of being Suicune 1v1 depending on their respective sets. I will say Metagross is kind of scary, but you do have a Bronzong, which helps. And there's not a ton that actually breaks down the Bronzong in this matchup. Outside of like starting to Calm Mind with Suicune, you don't really have a great way to knock it out. Donphan is, I think Lux's Donphan is going to be very useful here to get rid of rocks, keep rocks off, because there is no Spin Walker on Jimmy's side. And Jimmy's Donphan is okay. It's going to help checking Metagross a bit, but it laying in Suicune is not a position you really want to be in. And also, the Gengar can't Spin Block it. Donphan can't with like Head Smash or Assurance, which is something, but like, you're going to take a lot of recoil of Head Smash. Assurance doesn't really do that much damage. It's showing Oko. It might Oko if I took rocks because of the properties of Assurance, but otherwise. Yeah, Suicune's very scary here if the Raikou goes down. Obviously, like Vaporeon, but honestly, if I was Suicune's match, I'd just run Mono Shadow Ball. I'd just remove the Raikou and then run like Calm Mind, Rest, Sleep, Talk, Shadow Ball, and there's very little Jimmy can do about it. Or Calm Mind, Sub, Protect, Shadow Ball also works. But I think Mono Shadow Ball, because even though Staraptor's something, like Staraptor just go wear itself down, so it doesn't really matter if you can't hit it, because it's probably not running Roost. And then, yes, it makes you a bit worse into Raikou, but you're never winning the 1v1 versus Raikou anyway. So I think Shadow Ball I think Mono Shadow Ball would make a lot of sense here on the Suicune. Whether or not that's the set he brings, I don't know, but at least that's what I would personally bring here. Gengar, even with the Pursuit Trap Weavile, looks pretty strong. It's just tough to switch into. And it claiming a kill early is really big. Yeah, I think the match is, honestly, it's pretty even. I think maybe slightly in Jimmy's favor because Raikou is so strong here. But Lux has a lot of tools as well that can circumvent the matchup. So let's see. Let's get into the game. We'll have Lux on the left and Jimmy on the right. Lux is just going to lead right, and they're going to both lead with their biggest threats, a trend we've seen today. Raikou and Metagross. And Metagross is just going to quick Earthquake here. He's going to trick an Iron Ball onto the Bronzong. I love that prep. Oh my god. So that means Bronzong is now weak to Earthquake. And he realizes he's going to switch out, so he does get the Meteor Mash, get a fat 46 off on Donphan. Donphan's got Earthquake, chip down the opposing, this Donphan. And I think it's going to spin here, makes sense. But it's a Citrus Berry Donphan, which I know. I think Lefties is usually better in most matchups, unless like specifically in most matchups. But I guess it's fine. I guess it may help with specific calcs versus Metagross. I'm not sure. When you see the substitute on the Suicune, in comes Raikou as Suicune Calm Minds, as it tends to do. Raikou's also going to Calm Mind. What is Suicune go quick? But Suicune's going to quick Hydro Pump. Okay, so that's its main attacking move here. So that is going to help it maybe do more to Raikou, but even so, it's not great. And then Raikou gets off. So now if a Suicune quicks Hydro Pump again, it will knock out. But it won't be at +2, but still, like, you can pretty easily do this. And Suicune actually lives that. Wow, that's a pretty fat Suicune. So Suicune is now at +2/+2, and the Raikou has been eliminated. In comes Staraptor, so it can definitely knock this thing out with, like, a Scarf Brave Bird or a Banded Brave Bird. But Manectric coming after, so that forces a lot of pressure here. It just clicks Overheat, which when it KOs the Donphan. I mean, the Weavile. I don't know, maybe he was expecting an HP Ice there because it covered Staraptor and Donphan, but I know I don't like the play of sacking Weavile like that. I think Weavile is still really important. Let's go over here again, and that is specs as hell if that Oko'd the Bronzong. In comes Donphan, but I don't really see what he does about this Manectric anymore. Like, every time it comes in, it just clicks a button. So in comes Miltank, and Miltank is just going to buy Slam Staraptor. If this paralyzes, the game is over. It does not, but it's Substitute Staraptor. It's like Sub Endeavor, maybe? Oh, no, it's just fat, and Bioslam doesn't break the sub. Is it Roost? No, he is Sub Endeavor. But he is, like, because of the Intimidate, and Miltank's naturally well attack stat. Bioslam doesn't break the sub. Brave Bird will take down the Miltank here. But can't Manectric just come in? Oh, it's Salic Berry Staraptor. Interesting. So that's going to be able to Endeavor down the Metagross, which also reveals it probably it was last move Thunder Punch, meaning it did not Bullet Punch, which would have been the quick there otherwise. Meteor Mash, another like 45 on Donphan. Donphan will knock out with Earthquake. But in comes Manectric, and Manectric's really strong here. If Vaporeon comes in, its HP is HP Grass. Ooh. But he's going to go out to Drapion. Obviously, he can't 1v1 the Vaporeon. In comes the Donphan. Is Drapion able to knock it out? Not necessarily on switch in, but he is going to Swords Dance here. Is going to Crunch, do a ton. Is it Shucka Berry? No, but Drapion's natural bulk allows it to live the Earthquake. Its highest stack is its physical defense after all. Crunch will take down the Donphan. Ice Shard is not enough, and I assume this wins the game. Even if it doesn't KO Vaporeon, a Vaporeon can't survive a hit from Manectric. So Manectric is going to clean up the game for Lux. Pretty well played on both sides, not much hacks. I really like the Trick Iron Ball onto Bronzong to force it out. The Sub, Salic, Endeavor. Striper's also really smart prep into Metagross. Hydro Pump Suicune's interesting into Raikou because obviously pressure means you can only click it 4 times. So I don't know how much I love that. It did work out, but it is very risky. Unless he has, he might have another attacking move in the 4th slot, to be fair. He might have had something else. And the specs of Manectric doing a ton of work here, correctly identifying that if you take out the Weavile, nothing can really deal with it adequately. So that's a win for Lux. I believe that does guarantee him brackets. I believe that's a 2nd win. So one of my Lux. Let's move on to match number 14. Yeah, match number 14. We're making good time. We're about 20 minutes in with 3 games done so far. Maybe some people will join. Who knows? But anyway, let's go on to match 14, where we have Metagross Mirror with Lux versus Meth-Master. It's a hell of a name, Meth-Master. So we see 2 Metagross, obviously, which is a big starting point. I would say Lux's Metagross definitely looks at a better position than Meth-Master's, because even though Metagross can boom on Suicune and Donphan, you're still giving up your Metagross, whereas Lux's doesn't really have to sacrifice itself for anything. It can just click a button every time. Bandit looks really strong. Agility looks pretty strong. Outspeed, Scarf, Flygon. There's a lot of good options here. Suicune on Lux's side is very scary here. If you can't get a boom off with Metagross, it's very difficult to deal with. Maybe some sort of Clef with Encore Calm Mind, but Suicune is very tough for Meth-Master to answer. Clef is definitely pretty good here. It's definitely difficult for Lux to break without starting to set up, and Clef can't always Encore for that. Albeit Metagross can boom on it, but again, Metagross is booming to take out lesser pieces is probably not a bad thing for the opponent. Flygon's okay here, but Suicune, Donphan switching on it, as does a Miltank. Heracross, I think, probably has to come just because Lux's fighting resists are very poor, and so Meth-Master's going to need it to break down the team. I think a Bandit Heracross makes a lot of sense here. If you can just call the Gengar switch in one team with a Night Slash, then you can spam close combat the rest of the game. And only amount of speed you has Miltank if it's running a lot of speed, and that can't OHKO you, and you can close combat it back. I guess Drapion can't do that much either. So yeah, I think honestly, I think matchup might be slightly in Lux's favor because of the combination of Suicune and Metagross, but Meth-Master definitely has a very strong team here too. So we do have to remember Lux is already clinched for brackets here, so he is going for a potential bye with the 3-0. And Meth-Master, Ice Shard is getting off a huge 83% on Flygon. Then you turn out with in comes Suicune on the spike. Going into Gengar, I assume that's calling the Magneton switch. It's good. Focus Blast and just straight up OHKO the Magneton. No violating this gen. I wonder if the Life Orb mattered there. I'm not sure. Shadow Ball's going to do a ton to Heracross, so it's not Scarf Heracross. It's just good Pursuit, but Pursuit does not KO Gengar. It's a relatively weak move if he doesn't switch. In comes Clef, but Gengar could just quick Focus Blast again and do a ton of damage. Yeah, 73. Clef is going to knock off. That's not even going to KO because it's so weak. This is so low in base power this gen. Gengar and our Focus Blast would knock out Clef, and he's going to land a 3rd Focus Blast and still do 59 to Metagross even without the Scarf. The Life Orb. But it's going to be able to be special Metagross, or at least mixed with Psychic. Lux's Metagross is going to click Agility here, very strong. It's just going to knock out the Flygon, which was probably Scarf based on him bringing in there. Earthquake's going to knock out the opposing Metagross, and this might just be game. Yeah, Meth-Master just forfeits. I don't think he had great out there. Maybe if Cloyster could have made in something, but I don't think Cloyster does enough to KO Metagross anyway. So that's a very quick 12-turn win, just breaking down everything of Gengar and Metagross cleaning it up. I think I think Spiritomb probably should have come for the Gengar. I think Spiritomb actually had a very strong matchup here, beating the Gengar and also being able to Will-Wisp pretty much everything else. It's not great into Suicune, but you have OKR Suicune checks. But yeah, that's a clean 3-0 for Lux. Well done, and good luck in potentially getting a bye into the top 120 or top 64. Hey, let's move on to our next game, match 15 for the day. So let's continue. We do see Drifting versus Watashi. So we saw Drifting earlier. He's 1-0 so far. He won his first game, from what I remember, predominantly. It was like close, but he was in control the entire time. And Watashi's a very well-known Smogon player. I believe these are both pretty good Smogon players, so it should be a fun match. On Watashi's side, we see the Dragonite, which looks very strong to this team. The Steel type is Magzo, which doesn't really want to take it on that well. And yes, there's a Hippowdon, but like Hippowdon shouldn't be that hard to chip with this team. I will say, other than that, I don't think Watashi has made great things here. Snorlax is obviously, Snorlax is always good, and like it's definitely good here. Like Curse is strong. I mean, outside Encore Clef, he has very little counterplay, and like Whirlwind Hippo. On Drifting side, I think the Fat's really strong. Hippo's definitely difficult for Watashi to break without setup. If Drifting can keep Watashi off, that will be really good. Tentacruel is actually no, Tentacruel's not great here, but Rotom looks great here. It's keeps Swampert from making too much progress, can hinder Snorlax a lot, can hinder Cress to an extent. Arrow is also really strong here. Obviously, there's like a Swampert and a Fortress, but I think Lead Arrow is very strong because Fortress doesn't. I mean, I guess Fortress can average spin a lot. This is a weird matchup, honestly. I'm not really sure how to feel about this one. Like, both teams have answers to pretty much everything each other does outside me, Watashi's Dragonite. So let's just get into the game then and see what happens because I'm honestly stumped on how this one's going to go. Drifting on the left, Watashi on the right. And we do see, once again, people just leading their biggest threat. Dragonite leading off there. But Tentacruel is just going to Ice Beam. Obviously, I mean, you can't let the Dragonite set up on turn 1. You can't risk that. In comes Hippo on the Raikou. Raikou's just going to T-Bolt. So it does reveal lefty, so it's not taking chip from the sand. And Hippo's going to get up the rocks. Very good, obviously. In comes Tentacruel, which can obviously spin them away after. In comes the Raikou, but it's actually going to get and get a big crit there. And remember, the sand means that the lefties on Raikou will not be healing it. So that extra 20% from the Giga Drain crit could be a big difference maker in the long run. Raikou clicks Toxic on the Hippo. Very good. Albeit let me check real quick matchup. Clef can always heal by that off later if he's hacking it. Raikou is going to protect, get some extra Toxic chip as a Hippo just goes for Earthquake. And then, let's see. So Tashi's going to go out to Fortress, so he'll take this Earthquake pretty well. Unless it gets another crit. Fair enough. Double crits is really rough. So that's going to do a ton to Fortress now. And Fortress is going to quick... Why is it Substitute Fortress? What are we seeing? So Thunderbolt and Fortress is just going to quick payback, and that is offensive as hell, but it also crits on the Rotom. Oh my god, I say Life Orb Substitute Fortress with payback. I have never seen this in my life. That's one of the most creative sets I've seen in a long time in DPP. I mean, obviously, like the crit mattered on Rotom, but he would play really well anyway. But losing Rotom right now is really bad for specifically the Snorlax. Snorlax is now a gigantic threat with the Rotom out of the way, as is Raikou, to be honest. Tentacruel gets up a Toxic Spike, and that's Banded Snorlax, so that return just kills. Yeah, that's banded as hell. No, it's lefties, just like Adamant, and it might be a more specially defensive Tentacruel. A Hippo's going to come in, quick Earthquake, and 40%. This Snorlax is doing so much damage. That's got to be a specially defensive Hippo, too. Hippo's got Earthquake. Yeah, I guess he can't slack off the damage because of the Toxic. Yeah, having a Rotom would have been huge here because it can't quick return freely. That crit with the payback is gigantic. In comes Clef, sacks Fortress to the rocks. Makes sense. In comes Dragonite. Is this Clef packing answer? But Dragonite just quick superpower. So the second time we've seen a random superpower knock out Clef in this tournament. First time was against me. And then we see the Arrow come in. Arrow's going to miss the Stone Edge. Just really unfortunate. And Superpower at -1 is still going to knock out. That's probably banded. That is very unfortunate. But I mean, I don't think there's much you could do at this point with the Pert walls, the combination of Magzo and Arrow to the moon. Bazis could come in, and it reveals HPS. Yeah, Pert always beat the combination of Magzo and Arrow. There was nothing they could do. In comes Raikou, I assume, as Aura Spear if he's bringing it in here. It reveals Custap, so it's going to endure Aura Spear, but if you're already getting your Custap, why are you endure? I don't get that play. I mean, I guess he wants the differential, but differential doesn't matter in this tournament. He's going to boom, do a ton of Cresselia, but the game is going to end with Watashi taking the win. So definitely a bit unfortunate. I mean, Drifting got a couple crits, but the crit Watashi got on the Rotom was definitely game losing. So that's unfortunate, but Drifting is still 1-1, so if he wins his last game, he will move on. He's not in a bad position at all. He doesn't have to, like, win 2 in a row. So, yeah, pretty well-played game. Unfortunately, about the payback crit, but honestly, with, like, the Life Orb sub, like, I don't feel too bad because that's just a sick set. Like, that's an awesome set with Life Orb sub payback. I love that. So, yeah, let's get out of that one. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, on to number 16. So we see Deep Blue Sea, who is, I've been told, one of the best DPP players of all time on Smogon, versus JC. And we see another extremely slow team here. Nothing faster than Cress. And honestly, this doesn't feel as much as a stall team as like the other one did. I mean, obviously, Hippo Cress is like a decent defensive core. Slowbro's really fat. Wob is going to trap the offense. And Cradley's obviously a pretty good install. And I guess Gator and T-Charge just make progress. I can see the vision on this team, even though I really wish I had some speed, because right now we can see like a Crobat running a ton of speed. Like you can't really choice me like Brave Bird of a ton of speed and just do a ton of work here. Raikou is really strong here. Can run Modest and a ton of bulk. Like Modest at +1 probably 2 kills Hippo, and the Shuckleberry will ensure you with that. I will say though on Deep Blue Sea side, for Alligator looks really strong. The water resists are not great on here, so if you can give a Dragon Dance, it can go to town. Wildfed is obviously very good. Encoring things is really nice. Encoring the Rose Ray especially could be really powerful. Actually, even more so like Encoring like the Metagross into a weak move, like a steel move, then getting on your Alligator to be able to set up a Dragon Dance is really big. I do still think the matchup's slightly in JC's favor. I mean, just the sheer offense here is really strong into Deep Blue Sea's team, but as I said, Deep Blue Sea, I've been told, is one of the best DPP players to ever touch the format. DPO, I don't know if he's played draft before, but we'll see if he puts on a show here. Let's get into the game, and that's a fantastic custom avatar, like a Snorlax, a onesie. I love it. So while phase go, we either just encore right into Toxic, and in comes T-Tar. So we'll get Toxic, but like it does allow you to force offensive pressure immediately, as this Rose Raid is forced out into Hitmontop. Territor's going to cook Earthquake, and that does virtually nothing, because that's a physically defensive Hitmontop for sure. It might also be an uninvested T-Tar in terms of like attack. In comes Wildfire on the Hitmontop. Let's see. Hitmontop is going to click Toxic, so it doesn't get encored into close combat and then countered to death. So that's probably a good play, but this does obviously allow him to get back into T-Tar. And since he's not intimidated and the Hitmontop's at -1, I believe Earthquake will actually do a good chunk here. So this forces out the Hitmontop, but he just goes for Crunch, predicting the switch. And getting on Crobat, that's a pretty fat Crobat that only did 36. In comes Cradily. Crobat just get a U-turn, and that does not too much, honestly, to Cradily. In comes Metagross, very strong Cradily, but the Wildfire can always come in, and Metagross is going to get rocks here. Definitely good for JC, but it's going to cook rocks again because, again, it doesn't want to get countered. I guess it's just going to spam rocks until it gets a Wildfire into Meteor Mash range, but Wildfire can just cook Encore, yeah, this time. Enable Deep Blue Sea to get into a threat. This is actually what I was worried about, like Metagross getting Encored from the Wildfire. In comes Crest to take advantage of this. It might be a Calm Mindset based on that. It is, in fact, a Calm Mindset. Makes sense if you're going into it there. So in comes Kang. We reveal leftovers in there. Kangaskhan clicks Toxic. And Cresselia clicks Second, gets a huge crit. That wouldn't have even 2 it KO'd otherwise. But he does now put Kangaskhan in range of another one. Kangaskhan's going to fire off a Wish and might as well heal up a teammate at this point. But it's definitely not in a good position. It's now +1 Crusher starting down. In comes Crobat. Crobat doesn't kill from this range. It does taunt the Crest, as Crest goes for Hidden Power Fire, I assume. And then Crobat's going to get health back, but Crest can just Psychic this turn. Albeit, Crest is continuing to take toxic damage, so Crobat's gonna U-turn, I assume, as he goes into Metagross. But Crest's gonna call, but Deep Blue Sea's gonna call that and quick the HP Fire again. The Tone Danger off on Meta. If Meta has Bullet Punch here, but he doesn't, so he can go into Crobat. And Deep Blue Sea is just reading JC all day. He gets off the Psychic there, knocking out the Crobat. And that Crobat going down is really big. In comes a Hitmontop. And Roserade. Roserade misses the Toxic. Hitmontop clicks Earthquake. Does very well with Roserade. So this is definitely pretty much like full-on stall team from Deep Blue Sea. There's like no offense investment on anything. Toxicing onto that is nice. Earthquake getting more chip on the Roserade. So wearing down Hitmontop is appreciated, but I'm not sure how much to go for in the long term. Roserade gets up a spike here, but Hitmontop can always rapid spin anyway. I don't think JC has a potential spin blocker in the back. Yeah, he does have 8 spin blockers in the back that could potentially hold it off from a spin. So Roserade's just going to Grass Knot, do very little. It makes sense into T-Tar, but I still think Energy Ball might have been better in this matchup. And rapid spin's going to get rid of the spike. And yes, like Roserade can continue spiking, but honestly, I would have even considered spamming Rapid Spin there, but I guess not. He just takes the kill on the Roserade and gets very low from the Toxic. Raiko's just going to claim its kill on Hitmontop with T-Bolt, but Cradily can easily come in here. And in fact, it does. Raiko's going to sub, but Cradily can easily break that with a number of moves, including Earthquake, as we see right here. And we are going to just go out to Hitmontop. Makes sense. There's nothing she will do. And Cradily just got a quick recover there. So Cradely's back at full. And in comes Wildfet. It is probably going to get knocked out by close combat here, but actually, I guess it's not, but he's going to die to the next one anyway, or dies to Sand. I didn't remember the order on Sand and Lefties. So, but in comes Feraligatr. So this is potentially an endgame threat if it's coming in there. It does click Swords Dance. We see that. So we see the Metagross there. Waterfall, yeah, as I say, Waterfall definitely kills at +2. And he goes into Raikou, but Raikou's going to take a ton from Aqua Jet, or he's just going to switch into Cradily, and Raikou can't really do much to it. I mean, there's T-Bolt, a crit did 14. Like, that's really not barely out-damaging lefties with the Thunderbolt. Cradyly's going to Earthquake, do a good 41 to Raikou, so that's a pretty fat Raikou if it's only doing 41 there. And Raikou's going to Protect, again, trying to stall down the Cradily, but I think it's a little too late. I don't think Hitmontop can win the game on its own here. Especially if it's going to be lowering its defenses into the Gator. I mean, Raikou's going to sub. You may as well. Getting off the more toxic chip. And Raikou's going to Protect again. Like, you have no reason not to. Just continue, like, trying to get your toxic chip on this Cradily. Raikou's just going to Thunderbolt. Pelt it for 8. But yeah, Earthquake's just going to break the sub. And Raikou can't sub anymore. I mean, it can't Protect, which it's probably going to do here. Or is it going to go hard into Hitmontop? Hitmontop's going to take a tiny bit from the Earthquake. Cradily is going to, I believe it goes down here to Toxic. No, it survives on 1, but it doesn't really matter. Hitmontop does quick the Mach Punch. I really like that play so it doesn't lower its defenses. That's very good, but I think it's a little too late. Tyranitar's going to come in. Earthquake. I'm surprised it came in when the Hitmontop gets a Mach Punch. It does reveal Chopple, but I highly doubt the Chopple mattered for close combat at 51. And then, but in comes Feraligatr. I mean, I don't think the crit mattered. Anyway, Feraligatr's going to just click Waterfall on the Raikou. And then we see Hitmontop come in. Hitmontop is going to get off Intimidate here. So what I'm saying is, Feraligatr is going to have a Swords Dance, does close combat knock out Feraligatr, and it does not. Hitmontop is just too weak offensively. And now at this range, he can just jet before the Mach Punch and knock it out. That's a insanely well played game for both sides, even though I do think Deep Blue Sea kind of had the advantage. He was kind of in the driver's seat most of the game. He was generally just able to execute his game plan. He was reading JC all over the place, especially with that Crest. I think the prep on both sides was pretty good. Wildfet coming made a lot of sense in this matchup. I like the SD Feraligatr here. You know, just a pretty basic stuff on Deep Blue Sea's side, but it all made sense. I don't really get the Grass Knot on JC. I think I would rather just like have a status move for T-Tar. That's probably Stun Spore or Sleep Powder. And just run a more consistent grass style like Energy Ball. Everything else made pretty much sense here. You know, nothing too crazy, but good win for Deep Blue Sea. Insanely close in the end. So good luck to both these players moving forward. I look forward to seeing the rest of their battles. On to number 17 of the day. So on to week 17. So we see Swaggy Boy, an up-and-coming tournament player in the draft scene on Smogon, Whereas 48, who I don't know, but that doesn't mean they're necessarily bad. I just don't recognize the name. So looking at the matchup, we see first off T-Tar is very strong here. Yes, you have like checks, but like if it gets up a Dragon Dance and you can weaken the Skarmory, it's very hard to deal with. Milo can quick surf, but Milo doesn't really enjoy taking Sand Chip, and it doesn't break T-Tar that well because of the Sand Boost, especially if the T-Tar runs a bulk investment. It's kind of funny seeing a Milo mirror because there weren't that many drafted. But both sides kind of have a mod to take it out to deal with the Milo, be it Breloom and Sceptile. I think Sceptile definitely comes here. It can HP Fire Scizor and outspeeds everything. Just really good speed control. It also outspeeds +1 T-Tar, which is really big. So if T-Tar Dragon's Sceptile can still potentially revenge it. Lucario is incredibly strong in this matchup. The fighting resistant Altaria, and it's an Altaria. If Lucario gets off a Swords Dance, it might just win the game outside like a Mach Punch Breloom, because there's so little that can revenge it outside maybe Manectric, but Manectric probably doesn't take a +2 E-Speed. For Urbans, we do see, what is it? The Manectric on 48 side does look decent here. Like, if you can Pursuit Trap the Claydol, Manectric does kind of have a field day. So that could be the game plan. Get in Scizor to force chip on the Claydol or just Pursuit Trap it to enable a Manectric to Queen in the late game. I could definitely see that being the line. So I think Swaggy has a slight advantage here with just the power of Lucario in this matchup. But I could definitely see 48, finding lines to win this game very easily. I definitely think both have a good shot here. So we see a really cool custom avatar from 48, so he must be pretty good if he has a custom. And double Ask Luigi is sick. So we leave the Sceptile. I like that. It just goes Dragon Pulse. Okay, what was expecting could be on? Oh, calling the Altaria on turn 1. That's very ballsy. It does reveal Life Orb. Scissor's going to be Scarf, though. Taking out that Sceptile on turn 2 is gigantic for 48. I do think you probably need to scout for a Scarf there. I'm sure he just played HP Fire, but you really need to scout for that Scarf because losing your Sceptile, which is one of your key offensive pieces in this game, especially showing it was Life Orbing, it would have done a ton of damage into this team. Fortunately, but Donphan will get up Spike, and Skarm will get up a Spike. Donphan got up a Rock. But now Manectric is in. Manectric looks very strong here. In comes Claydol. It does get up a Toxic on Claydol, putting out a timer for Manectric to possibly queen up in the late game itself. Donphan is going to come out on the Claydol as Claydol spins away the rocks. That makes sense. And out comes Gengar to block Donphan's spin, but Donphan's just going to get the rocks back up. It's fair play. Gengar's going to quick substitute. That's actually really scary, but Donphan's packing the Roar. I like that prep a lot. It allows him to phase out potentially +2 Lucario if he's physically defensive to live the hit. Spin on the Claydol switch in, get rid of the spikes. So that's pretty good for his team. Rapid spin from Claydol, but Claydol's getting low. Claydol's taking a toe of chip here. It's not lefties either. And it's gonna take a surf. It just get the rocks up, but he's gonna go down, making Manectric a gigantic threat in the late game here. Out comes Swaggy's Milotic. It is go quick Toxic, but I assume the Breloom is just gonna get Toxic to itself, so it doesn't really change anything. Oh no. Oh god. Swaggy, no. Flame Orb Milo is really bad in DPP. It takes 12% per turn. Not to mention you're up against Sand. God, you're taking 18% per turn with Sand and Flame Orb. There's no way. That means if a attack does more than 32%, you can't recover on it. That's just, God. Flame Orb before Gen 7 is such a detrimental item to Milotic. I really don't understand it. Sure, it might let you take a hit from T-Tar a bit better, but it doesn't really matter long term. You're just going to be taking way too much chip. And comes the Skarmory on the Breloom, though. He is going to have a spike, but Donphan can just spin here. Out comes Gengar. But the rocks go back up, which will continue chipping stuff like Milo even further. There's a quick Shallow Ball, but it's not going to knock out the Donphan. And Donphan's going to roar it out, forcing more chip on everything. As we see here, Milo's going to take 12 from rocks, 6 from Sand, and 12 from Flame Up. It just took 30% for no reason. It could have been 12% healthier. It has got Ice Beam on the Breloom, switching very good, but that does not knock it out. And Milo's going to take another 18% here. The Sand will take out the Breloom, but now Manectric comes in. If Milo was healthier, maybe it could have a T-Bolt, but it definitely can't here. If that's Scarf, that might just be the end of the game. No, it's lefties. It's lefties. But I don't think it really matters. Gengar comes in. It does knock out the Manectric, which I don't know if I agree with sacking the Manectric. How are you going to break? I mean, he surely has a plan in the back to break Skarm right now. But Territor's going to come in. It's going to be Chople for the Focus Blast. Very good prep. It would have knocked out anyway. And Pursue is going to take out the Gengar. So Lucario obviously comes in here. He's going to quick Sword Stance, but 48 is not going to land Galeo if he's just going to quick EQ. Correctly recognizing he doesn't need T-Tar anymore. In comes Skarmory, and it's just going to go Brave Breath. It's only attacking move, and that's going to be the end of the game. Fire Blast, T-Tar is going to hit it, and that's just going to fit in the game. Fire Blast is doing too much for him to roost unless he misses a bunch. He does quick Crunch, though, not to risk the miss, so now Skarm can roost up, but again, T-Tar can just spam Fire Blast. And that's a huge amount. Oh my god, the first one to say 6 is 78. Yeah, Swaggy accepting his fate, going for the Brave Bird crit to maybe try for something, but that's it. 48 wins very dominantly. Wow, very well played by 48. I loved his prep. I think he did really well. I like the Roar Dolphin a lot. The Toxic T-Bolt lefties make sure to stay healthy and to wear down Quail's really smart. Very heads up T-Tar set here. And obviously staying on Lucario is very good. I'm really, really frustrated with Saggy sacking the Sceptile turn 2 to the Scizor. Like, you have to be scouting for Scarf in this gen. Scarf Scizor is a very real set in Gen 4. It's very real, and you have to respect it. And he didn't, and that really hurt him with the Sceptile. And then Flamor Milotic, it's just not it. We saw it was taking so much chips so quickly. Like, you can't run Flamor Milotic in this gen. So I think this just shows, like, kind of experience with Gen 4 on Swaggy's side. I know he's a really good player, but with the Scarf U-turn obviously being... I think that was pretty obvious with and if it wasn't Scarf, it was probably Aka if he brought it in there. And then just Milo being Flame Orb just hurts it so badly in this generation. But it's a very good one for 48. So let's move on to the next game. On to match number 18. So scroll down a bit. Yep. So now we have my good friend Orn Latios versus Forat Bang. Orn is a pretty well-known player in the draft scene. And then Forat, I don't know him, but I think I've heard the name around a bit. So could be something here. I don't know everyone in this tournament. I don't know a lot of the Smogon people. So take what I say with a grain of salt. In terms of like accolades and stuff, I'm not all knowing. And every year we do see stuff that I just didn't see, people I'd never heard of before, just because of being unfamiliar with their scenes doing very well. But to analyze the matchup itself, Raikou looks very strong here. Obviously there's Jolteon, but Raikou can easily just slot HP ground because it is Jolteon. If the camera freaking comes for some, I guess the camera could come for Raikou, but the camera comes, HP grounds get hit for good damage too. So Raikou looks very strong here. He has really free entry on Pokemon like the Skarmory and like even the Empoleon if it's not like super offensive. On Forat's side though, Gengar goes crazy. Gengar is fantastic here. Obviously you have to watch it for Pursuit Spiritomb. That's about the only counterplay Forat really has. Or not like revenging it with Raikou. So that's pretty good. Hitmonlee is a really good spare here because it gets Foresight. So not only can it Foresight on the Spiritomb switch in, not only does it Foresight out if you're close combat, you can guarantee getting off the spin, which is really big, and keeping Orn's spikes off is really big. As opposed to Orn, where Blastoise can't hit Gengar for that. I mean, Surf does like 35, but Gengar frightens you back really hard. It really limits spinning ability. So Forat's spikes are going to be really hard for Orn to deal with in this game. T-Tar is a pretty solid matchup. Like, yes, there's Blastoise and Skarmory, but again, like, those are both pretty easy to wear down, especially with Gengar and Jolteon on the team. So I think overall that's it's pretty how it is. I think Forat has a slight advantage here, but I definitely could see Orn's Raikou coming in clutch to potentially win the game. Let's get into it. Orn on the left, Forat on the right. And Manslaughter is going to get up rocks on the Skarm as Skarm clicks spikes, so trading hazards turn 1. Into the Blastoise, obviously wanting to spin those spikes away. But Forat is just going to go right out to the Gengar. Blastoise is going to Surf, and that does 45 to Gengar. That's a ton of damage. So Gengar is risking a 2-hit KO here, but he can also do a ton back to Blastoise. Is going to Thunderbolt into the Spiritomb, revealing Life Orb. I don't think that would have even knocked out the Blastoise, but it would have been too out to spin anyway. In comes Spiritomb, cooking Shadow Sneak. I get not clicking Pursuit there. You don't want to let this thing take too much damage. Unfortunately, we do see a Critical Hit Crunch knock out the Spiritomb for 56. That's very unfortunate. Spiritomb probably lived if that wasn't banded, and could have gone for Will-O-Wisp. Skarmory spikes into Jolteon switch. In comes the Mamoswine. Jolteon's to get Yawn, though. That's very cool. So, basically, such a... So, this forces the Mamoswine to either... but Mamoswine clicks Ice Shard. I don't really get that play. I think you always Earthquake there. Like, unless, even if you're expecting Skarmory, you Earthquake or Switch. Anyway, him when he does get off a Rapid Spins, the Spiritomb is down. In comes Blastoise. Emily just got fired off a huge close combat, getting off a big 57 on this Blastoise. Reveals another life orb, lots of life orbs, and this is the rare DPP Rapid Spin kill, the Tway-based power Rapid Spin kill. Not something you see very often, but him only lowering its defenses does allow it to happen. T-Tar is going to Pursuit, expecting a Blastoise to switch, but he's going to stay and get off a huge 60 on it with Surf. Very nice. In comes Raikou, and then the Skarm coming out. I don't get that play. I feel like you always have to go Jolteon. But Raikou's going to sub in Skarm's face, and now it's going to T-Bolt, and that's going to take out the Skarm from full. And now what? You have to bring out the Jolteon, which you probably should have brought in the first place. It's going to reveal HP Ground, which makes sense into the Raikou, but Raikou's also HP Ground here. And it gets the Jolteon super low. Jolteon dies to stand here. If this Raikou's Protect, it just wins, but no. It goes Primeape on the Gengar, but it Primeape's usually Scarf and DPP, as it reveals to be here. You train on the Gengar, Gang and the Mamoswine. It's very well. That Sludge Bomb to 68. That's wild. Oh, he gets resisted hit. Mamoswine is not that frail. But anyway, Mamoswine's going to burn a Sleep Turn. Going out to Primeape here on the Surf. I don't love that play, but I get it. But Primeape's getting very well. Close Combat knocks out the Empoleon here. But Gengar does just get to come in knowing that it's locked in. Or it can go into T-Tar. But I don't really get that. Why would you go into T-Tar when this thing is Scarf Close Combat? Like, I don't know. That's weird. But is going to Earthquake and Raikou is going to go down, which was probably one of Warren's better. But Spikes, Skarmory will have Spikes, and Jolteon's going to die to the sand. That's very strong. These Gengar's last turn in the game, so Gengar's going to T-Bolt, but the Sleeping Mamoswine is going to come in and let it go down the sand. And T-Tar's only at 10%. If Mamoswine wakes up, it can Ice Shard it. But T-Tar's just going to Crunch, and then Scarf Primeape can just clean the... Or even Skarmory can just finish it off. Oh, maybe it's not Scarf, actually, if he's playing it, but it doesn't matter. Braver will do the last 10%, getting Orin the win. So, pretty clean game here. I do think the prep was solid on both sides. Like, nothing too crazy. Yawn Jolteon's neat, although I don't love it when Raikou so commonly runs Substitute in this generation. Other than that, like, pretty basic prep. I think Orin just played this really well. I think the Scarf T-Tar was interesting here. I don't love it into Skarm, Blastoise, 8 Primeape. Spiritomb, it doesn't really force much progress. I really think a mixed set with me, like Dragon Dance, would be a lot more effective here. Or it's like mixed Life Orb for attacks. But regardless, that's a good win for Orin Latios. So let's move on to number 19. On to our penultimate game of the day. So here we have Mayo versus Olivia. I believe there's someone named Mayo Pockets. It's not the Mayoran, who is a very well-known draft player. But, again, this is definitely... This is a very serious team. Olivia's been up and coming in the draft community. Definitely excited. She's been pretty big on the forums, especially. So looking at this matchup, Holy Infernape matchup, Batman. I mean... Olivia has no counterplay to this thing. Stabs hit everything for super effective or a ton of damage. Like, nothing takes Flare Blitz except T-Tar and Flygon, which both really don't like Van Close Combat. Like, this is the best Infernape matchup I've seen in a long time. And on top of that, Gyarados is also very strong here. If it gets up a Dragon Dance, there's very little Olivia can do outside, like, Scarf T-Punch from Flygon. But if Gyarados Ring will Con, that doesn't even answer it. Even Celebi looks really strong here with, like, a Calm Mindset, or just, like, defensive is really tough to break outside the U-turn from Flygon. And Mamoswine is also very... There's just an insane offensive matchup for Mayo. Oh my god, Mamoswine also doesn't have switch-ins. And Olivia is racking kind of more of a hyper-offense team, but Clef Fortress is a weird defensive corpus. They're both kind of passive in this generation. I don't really get it. On Olivia's side, I will say Flygon looks pretty solid outside the Ice Shard for Mamoswine. Earthquake is pretty strong here. If you can call the right switches into Gyarados and Celebi, you can do big damage to him with 4 times effective moves. If you can somehow remove the Registeel, T-Tar looks very strong, but that's easier said than done. I will say Mayo does not have a rapid spare, so getting up hazards with Fortress and Rosemary will be paramount, but I don't know if Olivia's got time to get those up and for all these huge offensive threats. It's really like, can Olivia limit Mayo's turns clicking gigantic buttons and get up enough hazards to prevent them from coming in too frequently, and I don't know if she can, because I'll be honest, this matchup looks really rough. But Olivia is a quite solid player, so maybe she can pull it off. Let's get into the game. We see a custom avatar matchup, so that means Mayo's pretty good. And obviously Olivia has hers, so that's very exciting. We see Kirby and Wayway and the Chinchos and now recognize his character, but it's really cool. So let's go through with it. We see Celebi lead into Octori. Octori just clicks Signal Beam as Celebi Psychics, but it is Tangaberry, presumably for U-turn from Flygon. Even though it's Rindoberry, Octori, the Psychic Spit off drop would not have mattered. Like, clearly based on the psychic damage, like, we Storm kills there. In comes T-Tar. It can Pursuit if this thing clicks a U-turn. Yep. T-Tar does knock out the Celebi with Pursuit. Very good play. In comes Mamoswine, though, which is very tough for Olivia to deal with. She does bring her a Fortress, but he's going to take 40. That's a lot of damage. Just a close to free kill after leftovers. And it does reveal the natural gift fire, just taking out the Fortress there. That's really rough. Fortress will have Olivia's key defensive pieces. She does get off the sub in front of a Registeel, but she does miss a Focus Blast. Registeel's got Iron Head here. She's going to attempt it again, but she's going to miss a second time. Yikes. And then she is going to try for it, and she's going to miss a third time. Ooh, that's very unfortunate, yeah. And is going to die to the sand, even with the Salic Berry. Yeah, those Focus Blast misses are rough. I mean, that's like a 2% chance to miss 3 in a row. And it is going to quick Earthquake, but, I mean, it's just a Registeel's easy to Ice Punch it. The crit, I don't think it matters that much. If it's like a more offensive Registeel, which is pretty common this generation, the Ice Punch crit doesn't matter. In comes Clef, but it's just got Iron Head, so it's probably not Boom then, unless it's trying to put it in Boom range. In comes the Mamoswine. Clefable clicks Calm Mind again, but is this Mamoswine packing superpower, as we've seen a lot? It is. But the Chople Berry is allowing Clef to live, but if it can't Oko the Mamoswine back, it's not going to make much progress. Yeah, Soft Boiled. Mamoswine can just do a clean... actually it's a -1. So Earthquake. Clef is going to continue setting up with the Calm Minds here, but I don't think it's going to matter long term. Can't continue Soft Boiling, but I don't think Clef can win this endgame on its own. Of course, it does quick Flamethrower. Is going to knock out the Mammal, but he is down to 66 now. And Fairy comes in with the Chople Berry going. Fairy just wins the game of close combat. Yeah, I mean, this was a really rough matchup for Olivia. The Focus Blast miss obviously sucked, but like, and because that also enabled Registeel to go 2 for 1 and take out the Flygon. So the Focus Blast misses were huge. They were definitely game changing, but honestly, this matchup was so rough for Olivia that I don't know if she could have won, even if she hit all of them. Like, this was a really tough one. I do like the more offensive Registeel of like Ice Punch and stuff. That's really smart. Natural Gift Mamoswine is interesting. I don't know if you necessarily needed it. I feel like it's a bit overkill, but I get wanting over the Fortress. Celebi doing stuff on turn 1. Tangaberry probably for the Flygon, but he did, have utility versus Doctorius. Very happy to see Octori come. I do love this Pokemon. I wish it was good. It is not. I really wish it was good because I adore Octori. It's such a cool design. But yeah, and the Salic sub is cool, but I don't really get it on into a team with Sand and Priority of Ice Shard and Mach Punch. Like, sure, if you get behind a sub and you have the Salic up, but then you just die to your own Sand, so you'd have to get it in before you send out T-Tar. I don't really understand that prep. I don't think it makes a lot of sense here. But yeah, let's get into our last match of the day. Once again, I got let me check. Yep. So, I had wrong doc. That's okay. Let's get into our last match of the day. So let's go down to week 20 and let's finish off this first 20 games of the tour. So we see Sir Normington, who was in the second game, I believe he lost game 2 of the tournament overall. And Bideye on the other side of a very, very fat team. Highest speed of Zapdos, and it's pretty much hard stall here. Like, I mean, it's hard stall. There's no way around it. Your only mons making offensive progress are Zapdos and Breloom, and even then, like, it's stall. So, I will say, Heat Trend looks very strong here. Obviously, there's the Milo, but, like, you can gain something like Celebi or Vaporeon to take advantage of it. But I do, honestly, offensive Frost is also pretty strong here. Like, just Specs, Ice Beams, and Shallow Balls are not a ton of fun to deal with for Bideye. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. I'm just gonna say Bye-Dye, but I know. I think it's gonna be really hard for Normington to break Bye-Dye's core. I don't see a lot of great answers to it. Like by and Dom fan, I mean, Save White does stop it from spinning, but like even if you spin, you gain like Milo, and you are in a really good position. I know. There's not much to say here. I think the stall team on Bias is a really strong matchup here, and I think Normington's going to get pretty creative to break through it. So let's see if he can. Last match of the day. We see an HP Fire and Process into the Fortress. He is White Forbes. And Payback is not going to knock it out because Fortress is a wimp if it's not White Orb like we saw earlier. Even then, it's still kind of wimp. But anyway, Ice Beam does like virtually nothing to Milo. This thing's going to Pain Split, so it's substitute Pain Split. And honestly, it could be like minus 0 HP IV based on how much I heal back, honestly. Anyway, Milo comes in, goes over Surf. Selby's going to recover. Milo is going to quick Toxic, though, so Selby can't stay in for too long. In comes the Zapdos. But Selby's going to Psychic. That's just a clean 76. My God. And Zapdos is going to Roost, but, like, this is going to do a ton of damage after it, yeah. So Zapdos is getting low, but again, like, it can't Roost these off forever. It's just got a quick HP. Let me see. Looking at the matchup, it's probably HP Ice, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, if it was HP Fire, I would have done more. So Psychic is going to take out the Zapdos. It's a big thing for Normanton right away. And he is going to preserve the Selby and get rid of the Toxic. Go into Hitmonlee. So loses Expert Belt, but Clef is forced out here. And we just look at close combat, and it does do a Queen 50 to Milotic. My God, that's probably adamant. But Milotic is not into a kill range because of the lefties. In comes the Powdon on Electrode. Electrode's Team Powers, very safe play. Getting some chip on the Hippo. And then we do see Fortress come in here. But it's going to reveal the Magnemize, meaning the Hippo can't touch it. Honestly, Fortress probably can't touch it either. He has to go out to Breloom as his check, but the crit Thunderbolt's going to do a huge chunk to it, putting in HP Ice range for sure. Also, might be an HP Ice range anyway, but anyway, it's just going to click the HP Ice, do nothing to Clef, but still, like, Electro has forced a ton of progress there. And it reveals the taunt, so Clef can't do that much to it. Like, if Clef's only attacking was knockoff, this set is insane here. Thunderbolt chipping the Clef, and it is, oh God, I think its only attacking move might be knockoff then. And it can always matter. This is a really heads-up Electrode set here. No, it has the Seismic Toss. Never mind. In comes the Heatran. And he's just going to get rocks on the Milotic switch. Makes sense. Because Fortress is in Rocks range, I believe. Now, Fortress is really low, so it's going to be hard for it to spin. Surf is going to do a ton, but Heatran is going to get off some chip on the Milotic. And Heatran's just going to boom, knocking out the Milotic from 67. Very good play. In comes Celebi, and Celebi's looking really strong in this endgame. It recovers up on the Hippowdon. And now it can just start nasty potting. I don't see what Bidai can really do about it. Toxic and Toxic Stand's gonna add up, but like I don't think it matters. I think he's gonna lose before that chip like can save him. So here's 57 into Clef. Ooh, that's a huge split after all the forces in our sack because Clef now takes 85. Yeah, it's a huge sack. Otherwise, Clef could have stalled it out, but he's gonna switch out. Gain hit only, and we do see Normanton's timer's also getting very low, so he's going to be having to pick his moves very fast. Normanton knocks out Fortress with close combat, prevents a spin, which is big for keeping the Breloom low. In comes Hippo. Yeah, but Celebi comes in, like, what can this Hippo do about it? Like, Celebi can just, like, nasty pot again. And it is going to. Hippo's good Toxic, but again, like, this Celebi is just, it's doing too much damage too quickly. Breloom comes in. I wonder if it clicks Nasty Pot again. No, it just Psychics. Just clicks the kill on the Breloom. And then we do see Clef has to come in, but again, like, it's been great. But Normanton's down 10 seconds. You have to be clicking these buttons super fast to win this game. His timer is insanely low. He does switch out, though, going to Hitmonlee. As Clef knocks off again to try and get rid of Celebi's leftovers. Close combat is obviously coming out here into the Powdon. Does 36. It's not doing that much. He is going to go hard Celebi again, continuing his cycle, but the Toxic on the switch is going to be really tough for the Celebi. And Clef comes back. He's just continuing his cycle, but Celebi is going to recover again. And this cycle does, I think, slightly favor Normington here, but it's tough to say. Seismic Toss doing 40 to hit my only if it's meager HP. And then in comes the power, and you just get off with close combat again. And based on damage, no, it's probably 9 range. Unless it gets like a really high roll here. But he's going to bring in Frost last of all. So Frost is just a quick, probably a Life Orb Ice Beam here. Does force in the Clefable. As a Frost is actually a Pain Spray again. I really think there's like 0 HP IVs. I guess getting so much health back. So he's going to go out to Drapion here. Interesting. So that was his last, was the Drapion. In comes the Powdon. As Drapion does quick Swords Dance. Makes sense. Swords Dance Drapion's really strong to his team with the only Mon faster at being Zapdos. Aqua Tail doing a clean 60 to Hippo, but it's a Shucka Berry Drapion. Even then, it would have knocked out anyway. Aqua Tail takes out the Hippo, and now all that's left is the Clefable. And the Clefable, I don't think Seismic Toss KOs from this range. It's just a quick crunch to a clean 77%. Seismic Toss will KO after the sand, but it doesn't matter. Hitmonlee can just come in quick close combat. And that's exactly what's going to happen. So Normington, despite I think maybe it's a pretty tough matchup, really creative with the SD Drapion, the Life Orb, Pain Split, Frostblast, the Magnet Rise, Taunt. Electro was a really heads up set. I really like the prep here. I think Bite-Eyes prep was fine, but I definitely think Normington cooked here. He did kind of have to cook to win this matchup, and he certainly did. So good job to him. That puts him up to 1-1, so he's still in the tournament. And with that, I think we're going to wrap up the stream for today. Thank you, everyone who came out, all like 1 or 2 of you. But I hope people watching the VOD enjoy this. I will be back maybe tomorrow, do some more, maybe Friday. We'll see. With that, have a good night, everyone. I'll see you.